now, though, we are going to talk about conspiracy theorists because the Center for Research and Training on Religious Fundamentalism, Political Ideologies, and Radicalizations has looked into the conspiracy theories and theorists which have gained prominence both here in Quebec and elsewhere during the pandemic, and has come up with a rough idea of some of the circles that they move in and how those circles are starting to overlap. And we welcome to the show Martin Geoffroy. He is the director of the Center for Research and Training on Religious Fundamentalism, Political Ideologies, and Radicalizations. Martin, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. You looked at videos that were made by some of the people involved in these theories and put online. So you watched a lot of videos, 500 hours of videos, to get a better sense of what these theorists were talking about and where they were coming from. What conclusions were you able to draw from your research?
Well, our conclusion is conferring with international research that has been made on conspiracy theorists around the world, actually. And we found out that most of the people that believe in conspiracy theory are at the extremes of the political spectrum, either the far left or the far right. But most of them are on the far right and are also on the religious sides of things. Also will have religious belief most of the time, or also will have I would say New Age beliefs that are sometimes anti-science, or that believes in the alternative medicine, And also one thing that we found out, and also that research has found out, is that many of these people don't have much education also. And so that's what we found out.
Well, I'm wondering if you're saying that this agrees with international research on this. Do you have a better understanding of why the ground is so fertile at either end of the political spectrum for these types of beliefs?
Well, usually for these types of beliefs, you will have to have a political agenda that is really, really extreme. So when you have a political agenda that is extreme, it's hard to justify rationally, political extremism. So the only way you can justify it is by literally inventing theories that will, confirm your what we call your bias of confirmation bias, actually. So you start to get into these echo chamber where people think all alike, as you know, on the internet and so on and so forth. They don't listen to the mainstream media, as you maybe know by now, and they only listen to these influencers that we studied, And most of these influencers have a political agenda. For instance, the current crisis that we have with the truck drivers, most of the people that are, for instance, currently in Ottawa, the 250 people that are still there, emanates from these groups that we studied, And they have a political agenda on the far right, which is to destabilize society as much as they can so they can overthrow the government. That's what they want.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were surprised to see that particular goal tacked on all the other COVID-related goals that are the stated objectives of that convoy, the Unity convoy.
Well, it's not surprising because our study showed, and other studies that we've made before in 2020 shows that the far right groups, since the beginning of the pandemic, have shifted their goals to overthrow the government or to before the pandemic, they would talk about immigration against immigration against Muslims, for instance, And since the beginning of the pandemic, they seized the opportunities that they have seen, and they shifted their goals towards anti-sanitary measures, So because obviously after 2 years, people are starting to get getting fed up with it, and they see this as a structure of opportunity to infiltrate the people that are fed up and recruit them for their political agenda.
I personally, I find that dangerous because I think when you go through the COVID-related goals of the convoy members, when they're talking about an end to vax mandates, an end to border restrictions, an end to, we had travel restrictions, we had curfews here, and so on. When you talk about all that, you can debate the merits of each one of those. But then when you find that one tacked on the end, oh, and by the way, we want to overthrow the Liberal government and install unelected people to run the country. It just seemed to me to be very bizarre. And I wonder if it caught a lot of convoy supporters by surprise.
That you will have to ask them. But all I can say is that the 250 people that are currently in Ottawa are these hardcore people that organized this manifestation. Most of them came from the Maverick Party in Alberta, which is a far-right separatist party, which is really funny when you think that they were joined in Ottawa by some fringe extremist, far-right separatist Quebec groups that usually don't talk to Anglophones from Western Canada, but their hatred of liberal democracy and of Justin Trudeau is so intense that for a small while last weekend and this week they are united, as they say, the Canada United of the different separatist movement from Western and from Quebec, which is extremely to me new and a bit frightening because it means they're starting to organize between common goals, even if all of these fringe groups are extremely extremist, so they disagree on everything all the time, and they're extremely hard for police to pinpoint because they don't have a leader. They have many leaders, and they change through time, and they apply, a decentralized, structure of power that makes it very hard for police and for the RCMP to pinpoint them down and arrest, like the people who are responsible for these kinds of manifestations,
Can you look ahead, Martin, at the underpinnings, the ideological underpinnings of the convoy, the one in Ottawa, the one heading to Quebec City now, and make any predictions about where they're going to go with their beliefs? Are you predicting a groundswell of support for these ideas at the extreme right of the political spectrum?
Well, it is always difficult it's always difficult to predict the future, and I would not dare to speculate on what's happened. But what we are seeing right now is a capacity to organize that we haven't seen before. And talking about the far right, I wouldn't go as far to say that, for instance, the Conservative Party of Canada is far right. But what we have seen with Erin O'Toole this week shows that there is some pull to the right, the more right end of the spectrum right now, because they obviously got rid of O'Toole because he was too much, I would say, center of the political spectrum for them. So there is some sort of shift. But what I fear is that the reaction in Ottawa, which is a bit mild towards what is happening right now, had made these people, these political activists, more sure of themselves and more sure of themselves. And right now they are planning also a convoy next week in Toronto. So if it goes on, is it going to have Toronto paralyzed, Ottawa paralyzed?
Victoria too, yeah. Quebec City, Victoria. They're talking about in Vancouver. You're right.
So at some point, the government or police forces or even the army, I don't know, must put a stop to that, because you cannot paralyze whole cities, principal cities like that. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I know that in terms of respecting the law and respecting what I think one of our main values of Canada is liberal democracy, you will have at some point to stop these people.
Martin Geoffroy, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Martin is director of the Center for Research and Training on Religious Fundamentalism, Political Ideologies, and Radicalization.